Hello, my amazing listener, and welcome back to Today English Podcast. This is the place where we explore ideas that help you grow your confidence, improve your English, and think deeply about life, all at the same time. I'm so happy you're here today, and I really appreciate you taking this time just for yourself. Maybe you're listening while walking, maybe you're studying, or maybe you're just relaxing with your headphones on. Wherever you are, I hope this episode gives you something meaningful to think about and carry with you through your day. Today, we are going to talk about something that everyone experiences in life: mistakes. Yes, that's right. We all make them. Mistakes happen in our personal lives, in our jobs, and even when we're learning English. They are a normal part of being human. But here's the question I want you to think about. Do your mistakes define who you are? Should one bad decision, one embarrassing moment, or one failed attempt tell you who you are or stop you from trying again? If you've ever made a mistake and thought, "I'm such a failure," or "I'll never be good at this," you are not alone. Those thoughts are very common, especially when we care about something deeply. Think about this. Have you ever been so afraid of making a mistake that you didn't even try? Maybe you wanted to speak in English during class, but stayed quiet. Maybe you wanted to apply for a job, but felt nervous that you'd mess up the interview. These situations are real. They stop many people from learning, growing, and moving forward. Mistakes can feel heavy. They can make us doubt ourselves or think we're not good enough. But here's an important truth. A mistake is just a moment, not your identity. It does not mean you are stupid, lazy, or weak. It only means you tried something and it didn't go as planned. That's all. A mistake is a learning opportunity, not a final judgment. In today's episode, we will explore this idea more deeply. We'll talk about why we fear mistakes so much, how different cultures see failure, and how we can start changing our mindset about it. I will share real-life examples, useful English expressions, and practical tips. And as always, I will ask you questions to help you reflect and connect personally with what we're discussing. So, take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Get ready for a conversation that might change the way you see your mistakes and yourself. Here on Today English Podcast, it's not just about learning grammar or vocabulary. It's about rewiring your mindset, speaking English with courage and clarity, and moving forward even when things are not perfect. Let's begin. Why we fear mistakes. Now, let's talk about something many of us feel but don't always say out loud: the fear of making mistakes. Why do we get so afraid of doing something wrong? Why do even small mistakes feel heavy? This fear is very real. It's emotional. And it's very human. From a young age, we are taught that mistakes are bad. In school, if you answer a question incorrectly, you lose points. If you forget your homework, you might get a low grade or feel embarrassed in front of the class. Little by little, we learn that making mistakes means we are not smart enough, not good enough, or not capable. This belief can stay with us for many years. It can stop us from trying new things, speaking English, or chasing our goals. But the truth is that everyone makes mistakes, even the smartest, most successful people in the world. Mistakes are not the end. They are part of learning and growing. When we understand this, we can start to change our thinking. Instead of fearing mistakes, we can see them as opportunities to learn. We can say to ourselves, "It's okay. I tried. I learned something. I can do better next time." Mistakes are not something to hide or feel ashamed of. They are proof that you are trying, learning, and growing. And the more we accept this, the more confident we become not only in English but in life. And that belief, this idea that mistakes are bad, starts to live inside us. Quietly, almost without us noticing, it grows stronger over time. By the time we become adults, this fear often follows us everywhere. We become afraid of doing something wrong at work. We worry about saying the wrong thing in English. We fear being judged by others. That fear can quietly influence many parts of our life. Perfectionism is a big part of this fear. Maybe you've felt it yourself. You want to do everything perfectly, so you delay starting something new. Or maybe you work very hard, but no matter what you do, it never feels good enough. At first, perfectionism sounds like a strength. It sounds like high standards. But really, it can become a wall that stops you from trying, stops you from learning, and stops you from growing. Perfectionism often whispers, if I can't do it right the first time, I won't do it at all. But life doesn't work that way. Learning doesn't work that way. And learning a new language definitely doesn't work that way. Sometimes, our fear of mistakes comes from other people, from how we think they will see us. Maybe you've thought, if I make a mistake, they'll laugh at me or they'll think I'm stupid. This fear of judgment is very common, especially when learning a new language. It can feel even stronger if you've ever been corrected in a way that felt rude or embarrassing. You remember that moment, don't you? How your face got hot, how your stomach sank, and how your brain said, avoid that feeling. Don't take the risk again. So, you stay quiet. You don't speak up. And over time, your fear grows stronger than your desire to try. Culture can also shape how we see mistakes. In some cultures, failure is seen as shameful. People are expected to always be strong, always be right, and never show weakness. In other cultures, mistakes are accepted, even expected, as part of the learning process. If you grew up in a place where making a mistake meant losing face or disrespecting a teacher, it's completely normal that you feel anxious about getting something wrong. But here's something important to remember. Not all cultures see mistakes the same way, and not all mistakes are signs of failure. In many places, making a mistake is actually seen as a brave act. It shows that you are willing to try. It shows that you care. Let me share something personal. When I first started learning a second language, I was terrified to speak. I remember one time, standing in front of the class, I mispronounced a word. A few people giggled. I knew they didn't mean any harm, but I felt so embarrassed. After that, I stayed quiet in class for weeks. I didn't want to be the person who messed up again. But looking back, I realized that silence didn't help me. It didn't make me better. In fact, it slowed down my progress. I was trying to avoid pain, but I was also avoiding growth. Maybe you've had a moment like that, too. A small mistake that made you feel small as a person. If so, I want you to remember this. Fear doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And here's the good news. It doesn't have to control you forever. Every successful person, every fluent English speaker, every great artist, every confident leader, they have all made hundreds, maybe thousands of mistakes. The difference is not that they never failed. The difference is that they didn't let fear stop them from trying again. So let me ask you, what stops you from starting? Is it fear of making a mistake? Fear of being judged? Or something else? Take a moment to think about it. So, what stops you? Is it fear of the unknown? Fear of judgment? Fear of not being perfect? And if you could speak directly to that fear, what would you say? Would you say, thank you, but I don't need you today? Or maybe, I know I might mess up, but I will learn from it? That mindset, that willingness to try even when it's not perfect, is what truly changes everything. It's not about perfection. It's not about performing flawlessly. It's about progress. Step by step, little by little, we move forward. We all carry a fear of mistakes in one way or another. But when we understand where this fear comes from, school, culture, or past experiences, we can start to see it clearly. And once we see it, we can begin to let it go. Mistakes themselves aren't the enemy. Fear is. But even fear isn't something to hate. Fear is something to understand. Because once you understand it, you can make different choices. You can choose to try, to speak, to grow, even if it's not perfect. Remember this, you are not alone. Every person you admire has been afraid of making mistakes. But they didn't let that fear stop them, and neither should you. A mistake is not a life sentence. Let's be honest. Sometimes when we make a mistake, it feels like the end of the world. We replay the moment in our heads again and again. We feel embarrassed, ashamed, maybe even angry at ourselves. But here's an important truth. Just because you made a mistake, that doesn't mean you are a mistake. There's a big difference. A mistake is an event, a moment in time. Maybe it was a choice, maybe an action, maybe even an accident. It happens. It doesn't define you. Being a mistake, on the other hand, is an identity. That's when we take one wrong step and turn it into a story about who we are. We say things like, I'm a failure, or I'm not good at anything, or this always happens to me. Do you see the problem? That kind of thinking turns a temporary slip into a permanent label. And when we start to believe that label, we stop growing. We stop trying. Separating mistakes from self-worth. It's important to separate the situation from your self-worth. Let's take an example. Imagine you gave a presentation in English and you forgot a few words or made some grammar mistakes. In that moment, yes, you made a mistake. You were nervous, things didn't go as planned. But does that mean you're a bad speaker? No. Does it mean you'll never be good at English? Absolutely not. It just means you had a tough day. It was a setback, not a failure. A challenge, not a final result. Many successful people will tell you they've made more mistakes than anyone else. Why? Because they were willing to try. They took action. They weren't afraid of messing up. They knew that mistakes are part of the journey. There's an old Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. I love that. It means no matter how many times you fall, you get back up. That is true strength, not avoiding mistakes, but rising after them. Don't cry over spilled milk. Think about the idiom, don't cry over spilled milk. It means there's no point in getting upset about something that already happened, something you cannot change. The milk is on the floor. You can't put it back in the glass. So what do? You clean it up. You learn to carry the glass more carefully next time. And you move on. Life is full of little spilled milk moments. Every mistake, every small failure is like spilled milk. And just like the milk, you can clean it up, learn from it, and keep going. That's okay. That's exactly how we learn, not to spill it next time. The problem is, we often take these small moments and turn them into big judgments about ourselves. We don't just say, I made a mistake in my writing. We say, I'm terrible at English. We don't just say, I misunderstood that conversation. We say, I'll never be fluent. These kinds of thoughts are what keep us stuck. They are not facts, they are beliefs. And the good news is, beliefs can be changed. One way to start changing those beliefs is to challenge them. When your brain says, I'm such a failure, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is that really true? Or is it just a feeling I'm having right now? Can I see this differently? Can I look at it as feedback instead of failure? Every mistake gives you information. It tells you what to work on, what to improve, what to avoid next time, and what's actually possible if you try again. Here's a quick example. A friend of mine applied for a job he really wanted. He worked hard on his application, prepared for the interview, and gave it his best shot, but he didn't get the job. At first, he thought, maybe I'm just not good enough. But after a few days, he saw it differently. He said, you know what? That wasn't a failure. That was practice. Now I know the kinds of questions they ask. Next time, I'll be even more ready. That is the difference between seeing a mistake as a life sentence and seeing it as a stepping stone. It's also important to remember, mistakes don't define you because you are so much more than any one action, choice, or moment. You are a full human being with emotions, potential, creativity, and the ability to change. Think about it. Would you judge someone else forever for one mistake? Probably not. You'd forgive them. You'd give them another chance. So why not give yourself the same kindness? especially when learning, whether it's English, a new skill, or just how to handle life better. Mistakes aren't just part of the process. They are the process. We learn to walk by falling. We learn to speak by saying words wrong. We learn to cook by burning the rice once or twice. But we don't stop walking, talking, or cooking. And we shouldn't stop learning just because it isn't perfect. So if you've been holding on to a past mistake, something that made you feel small, embarrassed, or stuck, I invite you to breathe and let it go. That moment doesn't define you. What defines you is what you choose next. Will you stand back up? Will you keep going? Will you take the lesson and move forward with more clarity and courage? That's your choice. That's your power. Your past mistake is just a sentence in your story, not the title of your life. And every time you choose to move forward, even if it's messy or slow, you are writing a new page, stronger, wiser, and more honest. So don't let one bad moment become your full identity. You're still learning. You're still growing. And that is something to be proud of. Mistakes as a tool for growth. Now that we've talked about how mistakes don't define you, let's go even deeper. Here's a powerful idea. Mistakes can actually help you grow. That's right. Mistakes don't ruin your life. They can actually make it better. They give you lessons you wouldn't get otherwise. They show you where you can improve, what you care about, and how strong you really are. Mistakes teach us things we wouldn't learn otherwise. They build our character, improve our skills, and make us stronger in ways that success sometimes can't. Think about it. When everything goes perfectly, what do we really learn? Not much. But when we fall, when we mess up, when things don't go as planned, that's when real learning begins. Take a moment and ask yourself, what did I learn the last time I failed at something? Maybe it was a school exam. Maybe it was a job interview. Or maybe you said something wrong while speaking English and it made you feel uncomfortable. Now, looking back, did that experience help you grow? Did it push you to prepare better next time? Did it help you understand what you needed to improve? These are signs of growth. That's exactly what mistakes are for, not punishment, not shame, but progress. Real-life examples. Let's look at some examples of people you might know who became successful because they made mistakes and learned from them. J.K. Rowling, the author of the famous Harry Potter books, faced serious rejection before she became one of the most successful writers in the world. Her first book was rejected by 12 different publishers. Imagine how that felt, being told no again and again. At the same time, she was a single mother, struggling with money and mental health challenges. But she didn't give up. She believed in her story and kept going. Now, millions of people around the world have been touched by her books. If she had let those rejections define her, there would be no Harry Potter. She used those setbacks to grow stronger, improve her writing, and keep moving forward. Michael Jordan, often called the greatest basketball player of all time, was actually cut from his high school basketball team. His coach said he wasn't good enough. That could have been the end of the story. But instead, he used that moment as fuel. He trained harder, practiced more, and later said in an interview, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." That quote is powerful. It reminds us that failure is not the opposite of success, it's the path to success. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, faced a huge setback too. At one point, he was fired from the very company he helped build. It was a big blow. But instead of giving up, he started other projects, like Pixar, the company behind movies such as Toy Story and Finding Nemo. Eventually, he returned to Apple stronger and wiser than before, and helped turn it into one of the most successful companies in the world. If that failure hadn't happened, who knows what would have happened? These stories aren't just interesting, they're inspiring. They remind us that mistakes are not the end of the road. They're signs that we are trying, moving, and learning. Mistakes show us where we can grow. They push us to improve. They teach us lessons we couldn't get any other way. And most importantly, they remind us that our journey isn't over just because we stumble. Mistakes are opportunities to grow if we choose to see them that way. Of course, in the moment, mistakes often feel bad. No one likes to fail. It can feel embarrassing, disappointing, or even painful. But here's the important part. Those feelings don't mean you did something wrong. They just mean you care. And when you care, you learn. And when you learn, you grow. Now, I want to turn the question back to you. Think about a time in your life when something went wrong, but later you realized it actually helped you become better. Maybe it was a broken friendship, a missed opportunity, or a mistake you made while learning English. Ask yourself, what did that experience teach me? What did it teach me about myself, about others, about life? Sometimes growth is quiet. It doesn't happen all at once. It takes time. It takes reflection. But if you're willing to look at your mistakes honestly, without shame or judgment, you will see the lessons waiting inside them. Every time you fall, you grow a little more resilient. You become a little more humble. You become a little more capable of handling whatever comes next. And that is something to be proud of. Real growth isn't about being perfect. It's about being open. It's about showing up, trying again, and not giving up even when it's hard. It's about learning to say, okay, I made a mistake. So what now? What can I do differently? What can I learn from this? That is the kind of mindset that leads to long-term success, not just in learning English, but in every part of life. So the next time you mess up, smile just a little. Because now you know something other people might not. That mistake is a gift. It's a tool. It's your teacher. And your job isn't to avoid mistakes forever. Your job is to use them wisely. Cultural pressure and the fear of looking weak. Now let's talk about something we don't always notice, but that affects many of us deeply: cultural pressure. Depending on where you grew up or the kind of environment you were raised in, you may have been taught that making mistakes is shameful. In some cultures, people are expected to always perform perfectly, avoid failure at all costs, and protect their reputation above all else. From a young age, children may hear messages like, "Don't embarrass the family," or "What will people think?" Over time, these messages become part of how we see ourselves. We start to believe that mistakes are not just bad, they're dangerous. They make us feel weak, lazy, or not good enough. And once that belief is in your mind, it becomes very hard to take risks or try new things, especially in public. In school, this pressure shows up in many ways. Students may be afraid to ask questions because they don't want to look stupid in front of classmates. Others may avoid trying something unless they are sure they can do it perfectly. A simple mistake can lead to punishment or ridicule, instead of being seen as a normal part of learning. When children grow up in this kind of environment, they carry that fear into adulthood. They enter the workplace, college, or university and continue trying to be perfect, not because they want to grow, but because they're scared of failing. In these situations, the goal becomes avoiding judgment, not learning. For language learners, especially those learning English, this pressure can feel even heavier. Imagine trying to speak in a second language, knowing you might make grammar mistakes, mispronounce a word, or forget the right term. Now imagine doing that in a culture where mistakes are seen as shameful. Of course it's stressful. Of course people hesitate to speak. The fear of looking stupid can stop even the smartest, most capable learners from practicing, not because they don't know enough, but because they're afraid of being judged. I've met learners who have studied English for 5, even 10 years, but still avoid speaking. Why? Because they're afraid of making a mistake in front of others. And here's the thing, I understand that fear. It's real. It comes from deep inside. But I also want to challenge that fear. I want to invite you to step back and ask yourself a powerful question. What were you taught about mistakes as a child? Were you punished for them? Were you told to be quiet if you weren't sure? Were you compared to others? Maybe you learned that it's safer to stay silent than to risk saying something wrong. Now ask yourself, is that belief still helping you today, or is it holding you back? We carry many of our cultural beliefs into adulthood without questioning them. And that's okay. It's okay to reflect and say, that way of thinking helped me survive in one environment, but now it's keeping me stuck in another. For example, maybe respect is very important in your culture, and that's a good thing. But if respect means always staying quiet and never trying new things, it can stop you from growing in a new context, like learning a language or moving to a new country. That belief might not be useful anymore. So we have to adjust. We have to reframe how we think about mistakes. In many Western cultures, especially in the startup or tech world, people are seeing mistakes in a new light. There's even a popular phrase, fail fast, fail often. What does that mean? Try things quickly. Make mistakes early. Learn from them. Grow. It's not about being careless. It's about seeing failure as part of the process, not something to fear, but something to embrace. Even if not every culture agrees with this approach, there's still something valuable we can learn. Mistakes don't define us, and they don't need to be connected to shame. Shame is one of the heaviest emotions we carry. It's different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. When people feel ashamed of their mistakes, they stop showing up. They hide. They avoid. They freeze. And that's the opposite of what we need when we're trying to learn, grow, or improve ourselves. We don't need fear. We need courage. And courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you are willing to move forward even if you are afraid. So if you've ever felt ashamed of a mistake or scared to try because of what others might think, I want you to know, you are not alone. That pressure is real, and it's shared by people all over the world. But here's the good news. It's something you can learn to shift. You can start by reminding yourself that everyone makes mistakes. Even the smartest students, even native English speakers. Even the smartest people, even teachers, mentors, and native English speakers make mistakes. No one is perfect. The more you practice being kind to yourself when you mess up, the easier it becomes to bounce back and try again. You can even create a new culture for yourself, one that sees mistakes as feedback, not failure, one that allows you to grow instead of making you feel small. A culture that understands that real strength isn't about looking perfect. Real strength is about staying open to learning. So, the next time you feel afraid to speak or afraid to try something new, ask yourself, where is this fear coming from? Whose voice am I hearing? Is it your teacher's voice from when you were a child? Your parents? Your classmates? Then gently ask yourself, is that voice helping me now, or is it time to replace it with a new one? A new voice that says, it's okay to try. It's okay to learn. It's okay to grow, even if I get it wrong the first time. Mistakes don't make you weak. Hiding from growth does. Being open, trying again, learning from each experience, that is what strength looks like. That is what builds fluency. That is what creates real confidence. And you, my friend, are absolutely capable of that kind of strength. Rewriting the inner story. Let's take a deep breath together and slow down for a moment. We've talked about how mistakes don't define you, but even when we know that logically, it's sometimes hard to believe deep inside. Why? Because of the voice in our head. That inner voice says things like, you're not good enough. You always mess things up. Why even try if you're just going to fail again? Most of us have that voice. For many people, especially language learners or perfectionists, that voice can feel very loud and powerful. But here's the truth, that voice is not you. It's just an old recording, a story you were told, or a story you've repeated to yourself too many times. Today, we're going to start rewriting that story. Think about this. When a friend makes a mistake, what do you say to them? Do you call them a failure? Do you say they're hopeless? Probably not. Most likely you say, it's okay. You're learning. Don't worry, it happens. You'll get better. So here's the big question. Why don't we speak to ourselves the same way? Why are we kind to others but so harsh with ourselves? This is where something powerful comes in: self-compassion. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same care and kindness you would give someone you love. It means understanding that making mistakes is part of being human. Nobody gets it right all the time. Nobody is perfect. When you start talking to yourself in a gentle, understanding way, something amazing happens. You begin to heal. You start to feel stronger. You grow, not from shame or fear, but from encouragement. Simple affirmations for self-compassion. Here are some phrases you can say when you make a mistake or when your inner voice starts getting negative. You can say them aloud or silently in your head. I am not my mistake. Mistakes mean I am trying. I am learning, not failing. Every expert was once a beginner. Progress takes time, and I am moving forward. Repeat them whenever you need a reminder that mistakes are a part of learning, a part of growth, and a part of your journey. Even if it feels strange at first, I want to invite you to practice these phrases. You can write them down, say them in front of a mirror, or repeat them quietly to yourself whenever you feel low or discouraged. Over time, these simple affirmations can help you create a habit of positive self-talk. And that habit is one of the most powerful tools for building emotional strength and confidence. You see, the words we use in our mind have power. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm bad at English, or I'll never improve, your brain starts to believe it. And when you believe something, your actions follow. But if you shift the story in your mind to something more realistic and helpful, your whole mindset begins to change. For example, instead of saying, I can't do this, try, this is hard, but I am getting better. Instead of thinking, everyone is judging me, try, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, and that's okay. You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing a more balanced and helpful way to think. Let me share a quick story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Maria. She was learning English in her 40s, and she often cried after class. Not because the lessons were too hard, but because of how she spoke to herself. Every time she made a grammar mistake, she would whisper, I'm so stupid. One day, I gently asked her, would you say that to your daughter? She looked shocked and said, of course not. That moment changed something for her. She began to catch her inner voice. She began to replace, I'm so stupid, with I'm learning. Slowly, her confidence grew. Her speaking improved. Her energy changed. And most importantly, she started to believe in herself again. You can do the same. You can become aware of your inner critic and choose a better, kinder voice. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about creating space for growth. It's about knowing that one mistake does not erase your effort, your intelligence, or your worth. It's just part of the learning process. So today, I invite you to listen carefully to how you talk to yourself. When you make a mistake, pause. Take a deep breath. Instead of blaming yourself, try saying something kind. Give yourself permission to be a learner. Give yourself time. Give yourself love. Because the way you speak to yourself matters, and you have the power to rewrite the story. Remember this. You are not your mistake. You are your courage. You are your growth. Every single day, with every try, you are becoming more fluent and more yourself. Learning English through mistakes. Now, let's bring everything we've talked about back to one of the most important and personal parts of your journey, your English learning. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably someone who wants to improve your English skills. Maybe you want to speak more fluently, understand native speakers better, or feel confident using English at work or in daily life. And here's something very important to remember. Making mistakes is not just part of learning English, it's one of your most powerful tools. I know that might sound strange at first. Most people are afraid of making mistakes, especially when speaking a new language. Maybe you've been in a situation where you forgot a word. You used the wrong tense. You mixed up vocabulary. And maybe you felt embarrassed. Maybe someone laughed or corrected you in a way that made you feel small. Sometimes, when someone corrects you in a way that doesn't feel kind, it can leave a mark. You start to feel nervous every time you want to speak. Your brain asks questions like, what if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand me? And before you know it, you stay quiet. You wait. You think it's safer not to speak at all. But here's what I want you to hear today. Every fluent speaker, every confident English user was once where you are now. They spoke badly at first. They made mistakes. And that is exactly how they became fluent. There is no fluency without mistakes. There is no growth without discomfort. And there is no confidence without practice. That includes failing, forgetting words, pausing mid-sentence, being misunderstood. All of it is part of the process. You cannot skip it, and you shouldn't try to. It's like learning to swim without ever getting in the water. It just doesn't work. Here's something amazing. When you make a mistake in English, your brain actually learns faster. Scientists call this productive failure. It means that struggling a little bit actually helps your brain remember the correct form better. For example, imagine you say, he go to school every day. Someone gently corrects you. He goes to school every day. That small correction, especially in a real conversation, teaches more than memorizing rules from a book. Why? Because it's connected to real communication, real emotion, real experience. And those things help us learn deeply. It's also important to remember, even native speakers make mistakes. Yes, native speakers forget words. They mix up tenses. They say ain't, or gonna, or wanna, words that aren't considered perfect English. But they keep speaking. They don't stop or panic. Why? Because they know something very important. Meaning matters more than perfection. This is a lesson every English learner needs to remember. Communication is the goal, not perfection. If the person understands you, even if your grammar isn't perfect, you're already doing great. You're already winning. So, here's my encouragement to you today. Speak more, even when you're unsure. Try, even when you're afraid. Ask questions. Start conversations. Order your coffee in English. Send that email. Join that online class. Yes, you will make mistakes, but those mistakes are your teachers. They are the road to fluency. They are not something to hide, they are something to use. And don't be afraid of forgetting a word. It happens to everyone, even in your first language. Just describe it. Use your hands. Say, I don't know the word, but it's like, and keep going. That is real communication. That is real English. Real people don't speak perfectly all the time. They speak bravely. They speak naturally. The most successful English learners I've worked with are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who make lots of mistakes. Keep going. Laugh. Ask for help. Try again. And over time, something beautiful happens. Their speaking improves. Their confidence grows. They stop being afraid of being wrong. And that is when real fluency begins. So today, I want to ask you, what if your mistakes were not something to hide, but something to celebrate? What if every wrong sentence was actually one step closer to the right one? What if you gave yourself permission to be a beginner again and to learn without fear? Again, making mistakes is how mastery is built. Think about it. Every time you try, stumble, and try again, you are learning, growing, and building a stronger version of yourself. You are not just learning English. You are building a new version of yourself. A braver version. A version that shows up even when it's scary. A version that keeps speaking, keeps learning, and keeps growing. And that version of you, that's the real success. That's the real goal. Remember, mistakes don't mean you're bad at English. They mean you're learning. They mean you're trying. They mean you are moving forward. So speak up, make mistakes, learn from them, and never let fear silence your voice. Practical steps to move on after a mistake. Now, let's make this even more practical. Knowing all of this in your head is helpful, but applying it in real life is where real change happens. So, in this final part of our episode, I want to give you a simple, clear set of steps you can use whenever you make a mistake. These steps are your little mistake recovery toolkit. You can use them today, tomorrow, and anytime you feel stuck, embarrassed, or disappointed, whether it's in English, at work, in relationships, or in your personal goals. Step 1. Acknowledge the mistake. This is probably the most important step. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't run away. Take a breath and face it. Say to yourself, "Okay, that didn't go how I wanted. I made a mistake." It sounds simple, but it's powerful. When you admit it honestly, you take back control. You stop being afraid of it. Many people ignore their mistakes, and that only gives fear more power. So stay calm and name what happened. That is the start of healing. Step 2. Reflect on what happened. Next, take a moment to think about what went wrong. Not in a negative, blaming way, but in a way that helps you understand the situation. Ask yourself, what happened exactly? Why did I choose that word? Why did I react that way? This reflection isn't about blaming yourself. It's about becoming aware. Awareness is the first step toward improvement. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you didn't prepare enough. Maybe you misunderstood something. Whatever it is, try to observe yourself kindly, like watching a movie, just noticing, not judging. Step 3. Learn the lesson. Every mistake has something to teach you if you're willing to listen. Ask, what can I learn from this? Maybe it's a grammar rule. Maybe it's about slowing down next time. Maybe it's a reminder to speak up or prepare better. Write down the lesson in 1 or 2 sentences. This turns your mistake into a learning moment, a small success. Over time, these lessons become your experience, your strength, and your wisdom. Step 4. Keep going. Now comes the hardest step for many people. Keep moving forward. Don't stop. Don't wait until you feel perfect, ready, or confident again. The truth is, confidence comes after action, not before it. After you've acknowledged the mistake, reflected, and learned from it, take the next step anyway. Speak, try, practice, write, or engage again. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, that's how growth happens. Mistakes are not the end of the road. They are part of the path to improvement, fluency, and confidence. Every time you keep going, you are writing a new story for yourself. A story of courage, growth, and determination. Once you make a mistake, pick yourself up and learn from it. Then, get back to the work. Speak again. Try again. Write again. Teach again. Whatever it is, take another step forward. Remember this. The only real failure is when we stop trying. Here's something very important. Consistency beats perfection every time. Many people think they need to be perfect to succeed. But success doesn't come from doing things perfectly. It comes from doing things again and again, every day. Even when you don't feel your best. Even when it's messy. Even when you make another mistake. Progress is about showing up repeatedly. That's how your brain gets stronger. That's how habits are built. That's how confidence grows slowly, step by step. I tell my students this often. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Just be here. Just keep trying. Just keep learning. You're not expected to get everything right the first time. In fact, you shouldn't. Learning anything new, including English, is messy. It's full of small mistakes, but each one brings you closer to where you want to be. That's the mindset that leads to real, lasting change. So, if you're thinking about a recent mistake, something that's bothering you, something you regret, or something you can't stop thinking about, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, you're human. You're learning. You're growing. Now, follow this simple process. Acknowledge it. Face it, name it, admit it. Reflect on it. Think about what happened and why. Find the lesson. What can you learn from this moment? Keep going. Take the next step forward. Don't wait until you feel perfect or ready. Mistakes are not the opposite of success. They are part of success. They show that you're trying. They show that you care. The more you move through mistakes with grace, the more you become the kind of person who isn't afraid to try. And that, my friend, is a superpower. As you go into your day or week, try this out. Maybe you make a small mistake in English today. Instead of getting upset, pause and walk through the steps. Notice how it feels. Notice how your mindset shifts. Little by little, mistakes won't hold you back anymore. In fact, they'll help you move forward faster. Here we are at the end of our journey together. I want to thank you for staying with me. I hope this episode gave you more than just words. I hope it gave you a new way to think about your mistakes, your progress, and yourself. Remember, your mistakes do not define you. They don't tell the full story of who you are. They are just moments, small steps along a much bigger path, a path that leads to growth, self-discovery, and real change. Today, we talked about many important ideas. Mistakes are not failures, they are learning tools. Your mindset, beliefs, and the way you talk to yourself can help you move forward or hold you back. You can rewrite the inner story in your head, from a critic to a coach, from someone who puts you down to someone who lifts you up. Every grammar mistake, every pronunciation error, every time you forget a word is helping you get stronger, not weaker. Take this with you. Your mistakes are part of your growth. Keep trying. Keep learning. Keep moving forward. That is how real progress happens. Remember, growth is messy. It's not a straight line. You'll have good days and bad days. You'll feel confident one moment and unsure the next. That's normal. That's human. What matters most is that you keep going, that you don't let one bad moment erase everything you've done so far. You are more than your worst day. You are more than your last mistake. You are full of potential, and you are still becoming who you are meant to be. Take a quiet moment today, just for yourself. Maybe after this podcast, sit down with a notebook or just your thoughts and ask, what mistake have I been holding on to? What am I still judging myself for? What lesson can I take from this experience instead of just the pain? Write it down if you can. Be honest. Be gentle with yourself. This kind of self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and also for learning a language. When we become more aware of our thoughts and feelings, we become more open, curious, and ready to try again. You can also use this moment to repeat some affirmations we talked about earlier. Say them out loud, even if it feels strange at first. Words have power, especially when we speak them with intention. Repeat after me. I am not my mistake. Mistakes mean I'm learning. I choose progress over perfection. I am getting better every time I try. I am proud of how far I've come. You don't need to be perfect to grow. You just need to keep showing up. Even on hard days. Even when it feels slow. Every step forward makes you more fluent, more confident, and more in control of your own story. Before we close, I want to invite you to share something with me. If this episode helped you, if it made you think or reminded you of something important, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, share your experience, or tell someone close to you what you learned today. Just speaking about your growth out loud is a big step forward. Finally, remember this. You are doing better than you think. Your mistakes are not the end. They are just the beginning. Keep learning. Keep speaking. Keep believing in yourself. You are not alone on this path. Every step you take, even the small ones, is leading you somewhere meaningful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And most importantly, thank you for being kind to yourself. I'll see you in the next episode.